What happens when a superstar's podcast goes from primetime to ghost town in the blink of an eye? That's the question echoing through women's basketball circles this week. One moment, Angel Reese was the name on everyone's lips, from game day pep talks to social media hype reels. The next, her once buzzing show struggled to break 70 views. No clickbait, no exaggeration. Her platform hemorrhaged fans seemingly overnight, leaving the sport wondering where it all went so tragically wrong. Angel's journey to media mogul didn't start with a microphone. It started under the roar of packed arenas at LSU, where she redefined tenacity with every rebound and block. As a freshman, she wasn't just another recruit, she was a phenomenon. Headlines splashed her image alongside legends, and highlight reels of her defensive prowess went viral. Scouts took note, but equally striking was her personality. Bold, unfiltered, never afraid to let the world know exactly what she thought. When the WNBA draft came calling, Angel stepped into the pros already bearing the aura of a future brand icon. So when Shaquille O'Neal's media network tapped her to host Unapologetically Angel, expectations soared. Here was a chance to hear the real story behind the jerseys, locker room banter, behind the scenes victories, and the raw emotion that only a star of her caliber could share. The pilot episode kicked off with a no-holds-barred chat with Lisa Leslie, a conversation that felt like sitting courtside with two icons trading war stories. View counts climbed past 5,000 in the first week. Listeners commended the mix of pro insights and easygoing humor. It seemed like a perfect match, Angel's larger-than-life persona and a platform built for authenticity. Then came the numbers that crushed every assumption. One week, her podcast enjoyed steady viewership in the mid-thousands. The next, an episode featuring social media personalities Jada Cheeves and Des Dior limped along at 66 views. 66. That wasn't a typo or an analytics glitch. It was the cold, hard truth staring back at Angel's team. Data analysts estimate this represented a staggering 90+% plunge in audience engagement practically overnight. So what triggered the nosedive? Fans pointed to the content pivot. Rather than delivering the hardwood insights they craved, Angel steered into territory that felt alien to her brand. High-end dating advice, reality TV gossip, and celebrity drama. Listeners primed for in-depth breakdowns of pivots and plays got instead an hour-long deep dive on luxury dating standard. Where's the basketball? One fan demanded. Another lamented, I tuned in for game strategies, not influencer gossip. It felt like a bait and switch so brazen that core supporters felt betrayed. When criticism mounted in the comments, phrases like "you forgot why we followed you" and "this isn't the real Angel" began trending. Angel fired back with 4 incendiary words. "This is my podcast, shut the F's up." Those words poured gasoline on smoldering embers. What might have been forgiven as a creative experiment instantly morphed into a PR inferno. Headlines splashed her quote across sports and entertainment outlets. Sponsors who once clamored for her endorsement deals glanced nervously at their contracts. Fellow athletes, some of whom had appeared on her show, found themselves fielding awkward questions about her sudden disconnect from fans. Contrast that with the meteoric rise of Caitlin Clark, whose social media clips, short, basketball first, and relentless in their focus, rack up millions of views. Clark hasn't even launched a podcast, yet her digital presence feels in lockstep with her audience's desires. She teases game highlights, shares candid post-practice reflections, and stays laser-focused on the sport. The painful juxtaposition was clear. One star expanded her platform with discipline and audience feedback. The other miscalculated her lane and misread her own fanbase. Beyond mere view counts, the fallout threatened deeper brand damage. In today's attention economy, trust is current. Sponsors don't just pay for eyeballs. They invest in reputations that align with their image. When a star publicly insults core supporters, those deals hang in jeopardy. Teams notice too. Locker room chemistry thrives on unity, on a star embodying the spirit of the brand. A player whose public persona clashes with fan sentiment risks fracturing that bond. Analysts whispered that Angel's social media channels, once lush with engagement, now resembled ghost towns. Unfollows skyrocketed. Comment section turned into war zones of disillusionment. So where did the misstep occur? First, Angel lost sight of her core promise, delivering basketball insights straight from the court. That foundation earned her loyalty. Fans signed up expecting arena anecdotes, training regimens, and personal stories of triumph and challenge. Instead, they got tales of Gucci restaurants and luxury date expectations. There's room for variety in any creator's palette, but a sudden genre jump without preparation is a fast track to alienation. Second, there was zero soft landing. Instead of treating feedback as a roadmap for improvement, Angel doubled down. A simple acknowledgement, "I'm trying new topics, your thoughts matter," yet could have eased the tension. Instead, the dismissive tweet became the story. The moment you tell your audience to shut up, you sever the two-way street that keeps a community alive. It's tempting to blame algorithm changes or analytics glitches, but this was a self-inflicted self-inflicted wound. The numbers were real, the reactions raw. Behind the scenes, content strategists reportedly begged production to reintegrate basketball segments. PR advisors drafted apology scripts. Talent managers urged a recalibration. But Angel's brand team either couldn't convince her that course correction was critical, or she chose to ignore them. The result, a slow-motion train wreck that went from marketable asset to cautionary exhibit overnight. What lessons can creators, athletes, and brands extract from this? First, remember that your audience isn't an abstract metric. They're real people who invested time and trust in your voice. When you pivot, bring them along for the ride. Tease new directions in advance, collect feedback, and layer in fresh elements gradually. Second, guard your credibility fiercely. Engaging in a public spat with your own fans is a cardinal sin. Even the most vocal critics deserve respect. Listen, acknowledge, and show your responses. Third, consistency matters. Audiences crave reliability in the chaos of content overload. If you promise hoops talk, deliver hoops talk. If you want to branch into lifestyle topics, consider launching a parallel series or rebranding sections to set proper expectations. Angel's situation also underscores the power of narrative control. In the moments after backlash peaked, her silence left a vacuum that critics eagerly filled. When she finally spoke, it wasn't with a clarifying message or a peace offering. It was with more friction. That combination cemented the narrative. A star who lost touch. The media will dissect this saga for months, framing it as either a spectacular cautionary tale or the inevitable clash of athlete-turned-influencer culture. Either way, Angel's team will be fighting to reclaim the story and reclaim their audience. On the flip side, look at how other stars manage misstep. Athletes like DeAndre Ayton or Sue Bird have navigated controversies, misleading comments, canceled appearances, surprising coaching moves by owning responsibility quickly, then demonstrating action. A heartfelt video, a transparent Q&A, or even a making of episode can humanize missteps and rebuild rapport. Angel had similar tools. She could have released a behind-the-mic footage explaining her creative vision, invited feedback live, or hosted a focus group style episode to let fans steer the next topic. None of that happened. Instead, the abrupt pivot and abrasive response became the defining moments. Now, as Angel's team scrambles to draft recovery strategies, one thing is clear: redemption won't come from ignoring the problem. Coupons for free merchandise or surprise giveaways won't fix the root cause. Healing begins with listening. That means a public forum where core fans can voice frustrations and be heard. It means reinstating the court-centered conversations that built the brand. It means, above all, humility, admitting a miscalculation and pledging to realign with the community. Will that work? The digital world moves fast, but it also forgives fast when sincerity is genuine. Look at the bevy of entertainers who've risen from self-inflicted PR flops. They apologized, they demonstrated change, and they let their actions speak louder than their tweets. Fans often respect a comeback more than an unbroken streak. For Angel, the blueprint is there. Schedule a live Q&A where she answers tough questions. Launch a mini-series featuring her training routine. Spotlight community coaches and players, reaffirming her basketball roots. Each gesture rekindles trust and rebuilds the bridge she burned. But make no mistake, recovery is uphill. The initial dip was minor erosion. The reaction to her tweet was a full-blown landslide. Rekindling 5,000 views might take months of consistent fan-first content. Sponsors will want guarantees, audience surveys, engagement metrics, third-party sentiment analysis, and through it all, Angel's public image must evolve from temperamental star back to relatable champion. It's a tall order, but far from impossible. Beyond basketball, this saga resonates for any creator in the era of short attention spans and endless options. The moment you lose the promise that built your audience, you risk becoming yesterday's news. And in today's hyper-connected landscape, yesterday's star can become tomorrow's case study in caution. Take this as your warning. Whatever platform you build, nurture it with respect, consistency, and an ear tuned to the ground. Because when the fans go silent, that's when you know you've truly lost them. Angel Reese's podcast collapse will be studied in media classes, if it isn't already, as the anatomy of a brand implosion. A high-profile athlete with A-list backing, premium production, and a built-in audience watched months of goodwill vanish because she lost the storyline. The hero of this story turned anti-hero in the space of one off-brand episode and one ill-fated tweet. As the headlines shift from outrage to what's next, Angel faces a crossroads. Double down on the influencer path and risk further fracture, or recommit to the hardcore narrative that made her a star. Her next moves will determine if this tale ends as a triumphant comeback or a permanent fade. Either way, the lesson is unforgettable. In the digital age, authenticity and active listening aren't optional. They're everything. When fans feel heard, they stay. When they feel ignored, they disappear, sometimes in the blink of an eye.